You know, there's a moment many of us face after losing someone we've loved for decades. A moment where the house feels too quiet, the days feel too long, and the future seems, well, a little uncertain. Maybe you've felt that too, like part of your world has gone quiet, and you're not quite sure how to fill the space they left behind. But here's what I want you to know. It's okay. It's okay to feel lost. It's okay to grieve. And it's absolutely okay to take your time figuring out what comes next. Because rebuilding your life after losing a spouse isn't about moving on. It's about learning how to carry their memory with you while gently stepping into a new chapter. Today, we're going to talk about how to do just that. We'll walk through 6 gentle steps to help you rediscover joy, purpose, and peace. Not by erasing the past, but by honoring it as you create a life that feels whole again. Let's start with the first, most important step. Step 1. Let yourself grieve, really grieve. I'll never forget a conversation I had with a dear friend, Martha. After her husband passed, she told me she felt guilty for crying too much, like she was burdening her family. Can you relate? Maybe you've been told to stay strong or keep busy, but deep down, you're aching to just feel. Here's the truth. Grief isn't a problem to solve. It's a natural, necessary part of healing. Trying to rush through it or hide it is like slapping a bandage on a deep wound and hoping it'll heal on its own. It won't. So, what can you do? Start small. Set aside 10 minutes each day to just be with your feelings. Light a candle, sit in your favorite chair, and let the tears come if they need to. Write a letter to your spouse. Tell them what you miss, what you're angry about, or even what made you smile that day. There's no right or wrong way to grieve. The goal isn't to fix it, it's to let your heart breathe. And if someone tells you to get over it, smile kindly and say, I'm healing at my own pace, because this is your journey. Step 2. Create a daily anchor, something just for you. Now, after we've made space for grief, the next step is to build a little structure, a daily anchor that grounds you. Think of it like a lighthouse guiding you through foggy days. Take my neighbor, Frank. After his wife passed, he told me mornings were the hardest. The silence felt overwhelming. So he started a simple ritual. Every morning, he'd brew a cup of coffee just the way his wife used to and sit on the porch to watch the sunrise. It's like we're still sharing that quiet time together, he said. Your anchor doesn't need to be grand. It could be a 10-minute stretch when you wake up, a walk around the block after lunch, even watering your plants while listening to your favorite song. The key is consistency. These small moments become touchstones, reminders that life still has rhythm, even when it feels messy. Step 3. Reconnect with what you love. Here's something I've noticed. After decades of sharing a life with someone, it's easy to forget what you enjoy. Maybe your hobbies faded into the background or you put your spouse's preferences first. But this is your time to rediscover you. Let me tell you about Helen. She'd always loved painting, but after her husband died, she couldn't pick up a brush for years. Then one day, her granddaughter left a set of watercolors on her kitchen table. Helen hesitated, but she tried. And guess what? Those first few paintings were messy, but with each stroke, she felt a little more like herself again. What's your version of Helen's paintbrush? Maybe it's gardening, journaling, or even dusting off that old guitar in the closet. Start with just 15 minutes a week. You don't need to be good at it. You just need to let it remind you that joy still exists. These first steps aren't about overhauling your life overnight. They're about planting tiny seeds of hope, seeds that'll grow in their own time. Grief, routine, rediscovery, they're all part of the same journey. And as we move forward, we'll talk about how to surround yourself with support, how to explore new experiences without guilt, and how to honor your spouse's memory in ways that feel meaningful to you. Because healing isn't a straight line. It's a path we walk one gentle step at a time. You know, when I spoke with Helen about her watercolors, she told me something that stuck with me. She said, "At first, it felt selfish to enjoy something without him, like I was leaving him behind." Have you ever felt that way? Like finding joy somehow betrays the love you shared? Let me tell you, what Helen learned, and what I hope you'll discover too, is that joy and grief can coexist. In fact, honoring your own happiness is one of the most powerful ways to honor them. Because the love you built together, it's still part of you. And as we move forward today, we'll focus on how to carry that love into a life that's still full of possibility. Step 4. Build your circle of support, even if it's small. Let's talk about something we don't say enough. You don't have to do this alone. But here's the tricky part. Asking for help can feel uncomfortable, especially if you've always been the one giving support. Take my friend Rita. After her husband passed, her daughter invited her to move in, but Rita refused. "I didn't want to be a burden," she said. But one night, after a fall, she realized she couldn't keep pretending to be fine. So she did something brave. She called her neighbor, a retired nurse, and asked if they could check in on each other weekly. That small ask turned into a lifeline for both of them. Your circle might look different. Maybe it's a grief support group online or in person, a longtime friend who's also navigating loss, even a friendly cashier at the grocery store who remembers your name. Start with one person. Send a text. "Could we have coffee this week? I'd love the company." You'd be surprised how many people are waiting for a chance to show up for you. Step 5. Create a new tradition, just for you. 2. Now, this step might feel unexpected. When we lose someone, we often focus on preserving the past. Old photos, their favorite chair, the way they made Sunday pancakes. But what if you could create something new that keeps their spirit alive? Let me share a story. A viewer named Tom wrote to me about his wife, Linda, who loved birds. After she passed, he felt a pang every time he heard a chirp outside. Then one day he bought a bird feeder and hung it by the window. Every morning, he'd sit with his coffee and watch the finches and sparrows visit. "It's like she sends them to say good morning," he said. Your tradition doesn't need to be elaborate. It could be planting their favorite flower in a pot by the door, playing their go-to song while you cook dinner, volunteering for a cause they cared about once a month. This isn't about replacing memories. It's about weaving their legacy into your present. And in doing so, you give yourself permission to keep living with them, not just without them. I know what some of you might be thinking, but what if I try these things and still feel empty? That's okay. This isn't about fixing everything overnight. It's about showing up for yourself, even on the days when grief feels heavy. Remember Frank, my neighbor with the morning coffee ritual? Some days, he told me, he'd sit on that porch and cry into his mug. But over time, those tears started mixing with smiles. Like the day a cardinal landed on the railing, a bird his wife had always loved. Healing isn't about erasing the pain. It's about making space for both the sorrow and the light. As we move forward, we'll talk about the final step, one that's all about looking ahead without guilt. It's about giving yourself permission to dream again, to wonder, what's next for me? And how to take those first tender steps toward a future that still holds so much beauty. You know, there's a question I hear so often from folks navigating life after loss. How do I move forward without feeling like I'm leaving them behind? Maybe you've asked yourself that too. It's a fear that ties so many of us together, the worry that healing means forgetting. But let me tell you a secret. The love you shared isn't a chapter that's closed. It's a thread that stays woven into every new step you take. Today, we're going to talk about that final, tender step, the one that's not about moving on, but about moving with the love that still lives inside you. Step 6, give yourself permission to dream again. Let me introduce you to Carol. After her husband passed, she felt guilty for even thinking about the future. It felt like betrayal, she told me. But one day, her granddaughter asked her to help plan a family trip, something Carol's husband had always handled. At first, she froze. Then, she opened a map and circled a place she'd always wanted to visit, a quiet lakeside town she'd read about in a novel years ago. That trip wasn't just a getaway, it was Carol's first yes to herself, a small but mighty act of courage. She scattered a handful of her husband's ashes by the lake, whispered a thank you for their years together, and then she sat and watched the sunset, alone. And for the first time in years, she felt peace, not because she'd let go, but because she'd let herself expand. Your version of Carol's Lake might look different. Maybe it's signing up for that community class you've been curious about, planning a solo day trip to a museum or park you've never visited, simply saying yes to an invitation that scares you a little. This step isn't about erasing the past. It's about whispering to your heart, you're allowed to want things. You're allowed to grow. Let's take a breath and look back at how far we've come. We started by making space for grief, letting it be messy and real. We built little anchors, like Frank's morning coffee ritual, to steady us on hard days. We rediscovered pieces of ourselves, just as Helen did with her paintbrush. We reached out for support, like Rita, and created new traditions, like Tom's bird feeder. And now we've arrived here, at the edge of something new. But here's what I want you to remember. Healing isn't a race. Some days you'll take 3 steps forward. Other days, it might feel like 1 step back. And that's okay. What matters is that you keep showing up for yourself, just as you once did for the person you loved. If there's one thing I hope you take from this video, it's this. Your life is still yours. It's still full of sunrises waiting to be watched, stories waiting to be written, and joy waiting to be discovered, even if that joy comes with a side of tears. So, I'd love to hear from you. Have you found a ritual that brings you peace? A new hobby that's sparked something unexpected? Share it in the comments below. Let's build a community where we can learn from each other's courage. And if this video resonated with you, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. We're here to walk alongside you, one gentle step at a time. Here's to honoring the past and embracing the present. Here's to mornings that feel a little lighter and nights where the stars remind you of their smile. And here's to you for having the strength to keep blooming, even after life's deepest winters. You're not alone, and your story, it's still unfolding.